Martin Luther King was assassinated. And so there is a group who started in the 1980s to commemorate their work. They changed so much through nonviolence. And so it's because of this remembrance of their spirit and their energy and their influence in human behavior that we here in Bakersfield decided to have a peace concert to remember their words and to remember their lives, but also to be able to have it with lots of fun. So I hope you enjoy tonight's program. And we have included, because we live in Kern County, of two legendary persons. One is Cesar Chavez, who followed nonviolence, and also a living legend, Dolores Huerta. Just some few things and reminders is that the bathroom is to the back of this room, and when you go back where the railings are, if you turn to the right, there will be a very large bathroom there. And also, just as a reminder, because this is a concert, and persons who are making speeches, if you could turn off your cell phones or put it on vibrate, that would be greatly appreciated.
Admit that an individual who breaks the law that conscience tells him is unjust and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice is in reality expressing the highest respect for law. The common thread again is justice and conscience. Cesar Chavez and all the people who worked alongside him made Americans aware of where their food came from and the conditions under which farm workers toiled to get that food to their table. Farm workers of all colors had no protection against pesticides. They had no toilets or even drinking water on hot summer days. Their wages were substandard. They were not included under Social Security and had no workers' compensation. Their children dropped out of school early and, like their parents, ended up working on the fields as well. There seemed to be no way out. There had been attempts to organize farm workers since the beginning of the 1900s, but had not been successful. In 1965, the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, led by Larry Eat Leong, was joined by the National Farm Workers Association, led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta in the Huelga, the grape strike in Delano. In their goal statement, the Plan of Delano, it was clearly stated that they sought social justice, seeking their basic God-given rights as human beings without violence. Like the other leaders mentioned, they used the strike, they marched to Sacramento in a mass protest, and at one point, Cesar Chavez went on a fast to emphasize nonviolence, as some were becoming impatient with a long fight. It took 5 years before the first successes were achieved. The first contracts were signed in 1970, and in 1975, the Agricultural Labor Relations Act was signed by Governor Jerry Brown of California, again, which allowed agricultural unions to bargain collectively. The Agricultural Labor Relations Board was created to oversee elections and agricultural unions in California. There have been many challenges for the United Farm Workers Union now since then, but this was one of the most successful revolts by one of the poorest and most powerless group of people in the United States. They realized that they had the power to change things, and nonviolence was a very important part of it. In addition, the farm worker movement also launched other movements for social justice. It propelled the Chicano movement and the fight for education and political power, which we have seen flower in more recent years. I'll end with a few quotes from Cesar Chavez. "It is my deepest belief that only by giving our lives do we find life. I am convinced that the truest act of courage